To the November 6, 2017 Informal Commission meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to open our meeting with just a moment of silence for the victims of a tragic, senseless act in Texas, for the families and for those that were injured. So if you would, please let's observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Our first item of business, we have a couple of presentations regarding. The first one is the new proposed mega site. Mike, if you want to come forward, I know you've got a slide up here. Commissioners, just so you'll kind of know why Mike's here. Last week there was a meeting out on McGregor Road. Commissioner Vallejos, Commissioner Johnson were both in attendance. I attended it as well, and I talked to Mike afterwards, and I told him it'd probably be a good idea to brief the County Commission on where we are with this project. I know some of you probably received some phone calls. I'm sure you'll may receive some more phone calls. So Mike, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to have a few minutes to address you. What I'm here to talk to you about tonight is the concept of Montgomery County and Robertson County partnering together to create a Middle Tennessee megasite. And we're doing this on the basis of a model of a project that we were not able to attempt to get into. And it was an OEM assembly plant project. That project, the model of it was going to create $1.6 billion of investment, and it was going to create 4,100 direct jobs. And we didn't have enough property to even try to get into it. So the company project needed 1,500 acres, 1,500 acres minimum. 1,200 of that 1,500 of it needed to be developable. And so that was kind of the 21st century guidelines of what we felt we needed to put together to be able to attract an OEM assembly plant. So this discussion is talking about our future, not necessarily our present, okay? So I just want to give everybody that. I will tell you that some of this land, I met with some of the owners and even had options on some of this property as far back as 2002 when we were courting an automobile assembly plant in history. That plant ended up in Texas for a very good marketing reason, and we were eliminated on that site early on. But we started developing a relationship with some of these landowners as far back as 2002. So we have met with 6 different people who have farm properties out in this area. And just for your general overview, the diagonal yellow line to the what I'm calling the north is going parallel with Highway 41. So we are about 1.5 miles and 1.75 miles east of Guthrie, Kentucky is where we are. Okay, we're about 1 mile south of the Kentucky line at this point. So Highway 41 is the north boundary, and running parallel with Highway 41 is the CSX main rail line that runs into Nashville. So this is a rail servable site, which is very important. 6 parcels. We have 5 of those parcels signature on an option agreement right now. It's a 1-year agreement with a 1-year renewable. And ideally, I'd like to try to convert this into a 5-year option because our history shows us it's going to take, unless we're just extremely lucky, it's going to take 3 to 4 years before we could probably get serious about trying to do something, okay? So that's kind of the background. You probably saw in the paper, I met with the Robertson County Economic Development Group, and they have agreed to share with us in the cost of doing the due diligence on this property to make sure it is developable property, and we are currently doing that now. We have about $400,000 worth of due diligence work underway: environmental phase ones, wetland delineations and hydrological assessments, boundary survey work, aerial topo, cultural survey, geotechnical evaluations, and archaeological phase ones. And this is the data you have to be able to truly market a piece of property. So it's an investment up front that we have to make. And that work is underway as we speak. They're going to fund up to $220,000, and we're going to fund up to $220,000 on that. So, I mean, that's kind of the background and all. We have talked with the state of Tennessee, ECD. They're very supportive of us working on putting together this mega site. For those of you who may or may not know, the state owns a West Tennessee mega site. And I wanted to make sure we didn't get our politics crossed up with the state of Tennessee if we put together a Middle Tennessee mega site. And they feel it is very important when a company of this size and stature comes to the state that we can offer them options. And so we would be the second option if we are successful in doing this. We have talked with Tennessee Department of Transportation, and they have taken a look at this site and have come up with a scenario on how the site would be served. And they would enhance Highway 237, which is Huncook-Rossview Road. It would continue out east to the Port Royal Road connection. And then from that point, they would acquire easements and build about a 2.5 mile industrial access road into the south portion of that site that kind of notches down on the bottom right-hand corner of that slide up there. So that is what TDOT said would be the best way. They'd have to do about 5 miles of improvement to the Highway 237 and then build that new industrial access road going into the site. So that is TDOT's input on it. We have talked with CSX, and they are evaluating how they would rail serve the site. There would have to be a crossing on Highway 41. Whether it would be at grade or build the road over it, we don't know how that would be yet because they haven't gotten that far, but that would all be part of that. Infrastructure, Todd County has a water treatment plant, and they are in the process of acquiring right-of-way that will run along Highway 41 and actually run a 24-inch water line into a water tower that will feed water to Springfield, Tennessee. So that construction is underway, the acquisition of the easements is underway. Construction will start in the very near future. So the water will be on this site. We have met with the city, the mayor, and the gas and water department, and they are evaluating how we would extend the sewer and the natural gas to the site. They currently have natural gas in Guthrie currently. Whether they would tap off of that and run it over or however, they haven't determined that yet, but gas and water is working on how we would do that. So the site will be able to have the infrastructure that will be needed for this going forward. The two documents that I have shared with you are some data that we have, the company we have working on our update on our labor analysis is a company called EMSI, E-M-S-I. And they're a data company, and they have all of the data on workforce and all of this stuff. So we asked them to do two things for one. One, give us an economic impact analysis of what a plant like this would do for this region. And number two, do we have the workforce that we could deliver for this? Workforce is probably the #1 challenge in recruiting in the nation today. The U.S. has its lowest unemployment rate in history. Tennessee is having the same experience. So workforce is a major issue today. So what this what they did is they took the $1.6 billion investment and the 4,000 direct jobs, and their model, their economic impact analysis model, determines that if we were successful in doing that, that in the 2 counties of Montgomery, and I'm looking at page 2 on the document that has methodology at the top of it. That's the economic analysis report. On the second page, you look and see those 4,000 direct jobs the plant would cause to take place. Their model says it would generate 8,100 in new jobs in the 2 counties of Montgomery and Robertson County. They said in the state of Tennessee, it would generate 13,800 new jobs. The economic impact analysis of the 2 counties, the direct jobs would generate a $650 million payroll in our 2 counties, and it would generate $120,000 annually in taxes, and that's a combination of sales, use, and property taxes for our community. In the rest of Tennessee, it would generate another $985 million in payrolls and another $223,000 in taxes. And then if you look at that report and more, it kind of talks about the different types of jobs that would be generated and those kind of things. So it would be a big boost to our economy if we are successful in doing this. The thicker document that actually has a copy of the site on the front of it is the workforce document. And because of the magnitude of the companies that represent these projects, it was determined that very easily the drive time that you would look at to fill these jobs would be 1 hour and 15 minutes, would be very reasonable. So that's what this model is looking at. It's looking at the NACI codes, the 336 series, which is automotive manufacturing jobs. And what they're saying is that the average hourly compensation of our area is $17.67. And what that is about 11% below the national average. So in recruiting, that would be an advantageous statistic for them to look at in our recruitment efforts. And they, again, have come up with how the jobs would be served by the different counties. And they're saying that the talent on page 4 shows you the talent and where it's located: Antioch, Nashville, Hendersonville, Bowling Green, and Mount Juliet areas. And where they currently work now is in Bowling Green, Nashville, Brentwood, and so forth. But those are the people that we would be attracting most likely to fill these jobs. If you turn to page 6, you'll see another huge advantage we have as far as providing the workforce for projects such as this. And it's our Army base, Fort Campbell. And the average still is holding around 400 a month of soldiers that out-process through the military. These jobs would be significant enough to get the attention of those soldiers because they would come out and earn real decent wages. And our survey on the labor study is showing that 47% of them in the survey said when they get out, if they could find a good, adequate job for their family, they would love to stay in the area. So that is the people we would hone in on trying to attract for these. Same kind of methodology that Han Kook did in hiring their 1,000 people. So we have the components, if we put it together, to be able to put the land together, to be able to provide the workforce, and to provide the utilities. So what we would need to, as a commission, this is agricultural farmland, and at some point in time in this process, we would bring a rezoning into for consideration of the Montgomery County portion of the property, and Robertson County would do the same thing for their portion of the property to get it zoned properly for industrial development. And so the purpose, one, as your county agent industrial development board, you need to understand what we're working on and why, and I need to ask you all to think about this And we're going to need your support in getting this rezoned and have it properly ready to go if we're successful in getting all of the option agreements completed in the next probably 30, 40 days. So that's the concept. Again, it's our future. It's not immediate. But if we don't work on it now, we won't be ready when the next one comes along. So I'd be glad to try to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions of Mr. Evans? Excuse me, let me get Mr. Johnson. If you would, hit your button. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, just to start, this is in District 19, which is my district, and I'd like to thank Mr. Evans for meeting with me to talk about this prior to the meeting that we had with the citizens that live in the area, and also Dr. Ripple, who took time out of his schedule to answer a few questions for me. Special thanks to Commissioner Vallejos, who attended the meeting and had some very inspirational words, but most importantly to the mayor, who found himself on the hot seat at the meeting, and that was very much appreciated. I would be remiss if I did not let the fellow commissioners know that the population in that area is not in favor of this at all. I understand the concept, I understand the need, I understand the future impact that this would have. At that meeting, there were, I'd say, 100 people or so, or more than that, and they were adamantly opposed to this. Just to make sure that everyone hears both sides of the story, and I appreciate Mr. Evans for coming tonight to explain this to everyone, because I think we were all a bit taken aback by the news of this event happening anyway. If I could just touch quickly on the land acquisition prices, on what we're looking at per acre for the land.
You know, that number's out there, but because I am the signing agency that's trying to negotiate the option agreements, until I have all of those option agreements signed, I would prefer not to go public with that number at this time, but I would be more than happy to report that. I will tell you, it is industrial values, it's not farm values. So the major landowners are seeking a premium price for their property. What we predict will happen unless economic development changes drastically in the future, there will be, the state will put in a large investment to attract a company like this. I mean, 8,000 jobs for a community is big. Those are the people we need to think about. 8,000 new breadwinners bringing in great dollars. So there will be incentive dollars available that will actually pay for the bulk of the land and the infrastructure cost of this project. I mean, otherwise it won't happen, because economically it could not happen without that. And that's what it takes to get these projects. So I predict there's going to be a project announced in the next 30 to 90 days. And just look at the magnitude of what happens when that comes out. That's the league that I'm trying to get this community ready to participate in. So, good question. And again, all I want to do is remind you, I know right now there's 100 people plus or minus that attended that meeting, and there was a percentage of them that was loudly against it happening in their backyard. My understanding, there was also a lot of interested people there just wanting to find out what was going on that added to the size of the crowd. But again, our job I think, industrial board, and I think you all as commissioners, is providing the jobs for our community that drives our economy. And this is a major one. We've had some real good successes in Clarksville, Montgomery County. This would carry us to a different level. So just my opinion.
Mike, I don't want to jump in front of any commissioners, but you said 30 to 90 days on a project announcement?
No, I'm predicting that there is an automotive OEM plant project in the United States today. Okay? And I'm of the understanding that they're going to make a decision
On a site?
on a site, but not that's not what we're in here. This is what we're getting ready for, Mayor. It was a driver in us thinking about putting this property together, but we're not ready. We can't get in the door. There will be other OEMs. The automotive industry, I mean, look at what's going on in it. If you're following any of it, there's the driverless cars, there's all of these things. The industry is going to have to retool. And that's what I think we need to be trying to get ready for.
So just so everybody's clear, the major announcement that's possibly coming in 30 to 90 days is not for this site.
No, sir.
And again, I apologize, commissioners, for.
No, I didn't want anybody to think that.
Yeah, I want to apologize for cutting in front of Commissioner Nichols, Sokol, and now Harper.
Yeah.
But this site is not, and he may have said this, but this site is trying to be assembled for a specific project. It's not trying to be assembled to go out and purchase land to be a speculative site to bring in another LG.
I do not see this property going and being converted into a business park. No, sir, because I think the cost will prohibit that personally. At today's dollar.
Again, commissioners, I apologize.
Yep, good question.
Commissioner Nichols?
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, what is that carved niche in the north? I can't recall what that is.
You're talking about a very north.
The upside down horseshoe kind of.
CSX is running parallel. There's just a small triangle. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's that little.
It's
got the little U in it.
It looks like some buildings and.
Oh, good question. Okay, right now that is one of the farmers that we have an option agreement with operates. There's several bins there for grain. There's several buildings in there that they use for grading tobacco and sorting it. And he's holding that roughly 18 acres out now, but the conversation has been that he and his brothers need to be looking at an exit package on that because the company will want to negotiate with them and control that, but maybe not day one.
Thank you.
Sure. And right across the street from that is some more granaries, bins, and also a co-op and all on some commercial property right across, I guess, on the north side of 41 in that same area. So, good question.
Commissioner Sokol?
Thank you, Mayor. Is this project you're talking about speculative, or do we have a firm commitment?
We do not have a firm project that we are going forward on right now. But that type of project is what is giving us the information we need to prepare us for the future. And so using that former project as a model and having that formal project as a model to model from gives us a basis to get ready for.
Okay, so you're gonna set things up to develop this if we're approached by a company to come in and use it?
That's correct. We're going to have it ready. We'll have it available to offer them for consideration, where without having the due diligence and having the options, we don't have anything to offer. So what are the odds? I don't know the answer to that. I wished I did. But if we don't prepare for it and have something to offer, we have no chance, zero. So this is the kind of forward preparation we've done in the past that has been successful for us. And I feel as your executive director, it is the type of things that I need to take us into to make us competitive going forward. If you all feel otherwise, tell me.
Who made the decision to go ahead and start this project?
Sir?
Who made the decision to start this project?
What we did as an industrial board, I took it to some of my board members for consideration. And we've got 800 acres in our North Park. Of that, probably 500 of it is developable. The rest of it is 100-year floods and that kind of stuff. So we don't have that large mass of land that we have had in our inventory in the past.
Well, when you talk about 800 jobs coming into this community, was that the number that you gave?
8,000.
8,000.
Is what this model shows, yes.
See, every month this commission meets to have to struggle with development. 8,000 new homes, 8,000 new families, 2 children per each, the impact on the school system, the impact on the road system. Mm-hmm. Not just in the industrial park, but here. That's an awful lot of impact that's never going to pay for itself. And that worries me. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Evans, appreciate you being here tonight. Quick question. I would assume the options that you placed, you had that in the IDB budget to spend, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
The second question, the due diligence amount you referenced of approximately $220,000, should we be expecting
No, sir. Right now, we're taking that out of our reserve accounts. That's what that money's been used for in the past when we've done these types of things. And then if we're fortunate and sell it in the future, we recover that due diligence money that was paid. That's how it worked with Hemlock. It's how it worked on our 1,000 acres that we purchased in 2000. So that's kind of what we're instead of having a reserve and doing nothing with it, we're trying to utilize it to get us ready to go forward.
I can understand and appreciate that. So when should we expect at the commission level for a request for funding?
You would, in the scenario that I painted, it would be only when we're at a point where we have negotiated with a company and we're about to be selected. We would probably have a lot of one-on-one meetings talking about things that are happening, timing of things, and what it means.
When's your anticipation of that occurring?
I wished I had that crystal ball, Mr. Harper. I don't know when the next OEM plant project will come out yet. Yeah. And that's why I think we need to be doing this now, because this stuff cannot be done overnight. We have to be prepared for that next project, if it's 6 months, 2 years, or whatever it is. I'm sorry, that's just the way this business works.
I understand that. I think along with Commissioner Sokol, we have a pro-business commission. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I agree.
We're all in agreement on that. We are staring down the face of a school system that needs funding of over, let's say, $125 million or so for schools. And this project could easily employ 8,000.
Could.
Right?
In this scenario, it could, yeah.
And we know a lot of work needs to be done on Rossview Road. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be done to make this project work. There are so many unanswered questions. My question really is, from a timeline, I was personally taken aback to read a newspaper article without knowing anything that was occurring. Right. And frankly, I want to know why that occurred.
Timing of how it came together, trying maybe to get in late on an active project, and having willing landowners who wanted to talk about putting their property under option. So the chicken came or the egg came first, and we worked with it. And that's exactly why I'm here tonight, is to catch you all up on what we're doing and why. Did it happen the best way? Probably not, but I'm dealing with the way it came together.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Commissioner Vallejos?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I just want to say that on behalf of the residents that invited me out there, I was honored to go out there and listen. And as Commissioner Garland stated, the mayor was put on the hot seat, and he didn't beat around the bush. He simply said, you know, his job was to not to shoot down economic growth and opportunity for those in the community, and he answered the questions. But you know, my approach in the 7 years I've been on the commission is I've been pro growth. I've been for anything that can help our community. But my concern is we've always done everything to bring everything here, but we've never. Once it gets here, how do we move it? The roads are clogged. We got congestion. We got everything going, and so we bring everything here, and so then we try to fix the problem once it's here. So I think on behalf of my constituents and those that I heard out there in Commissioner Garland's district, I think it'd be easier to take if we had answers towards our congestion, because you know, it's just not coming fast enough for them. Their concerns also was lost farmland. You know, while these farmers have the right to do with what else, you know, what they do with their land, but they were concerned about the lost farmland and the productivity going forward. Many of the citizens that have been there for 4 or 5 generations, and you know, like they said, they moved out there because they wanted to have country living, and so I'm just addressing what they said. And like I said, they gave people there an opportunity, and not one person, maybe they were scared, I don't know, but not one person said they were there in support of it. And maybe there were some louder than others. You know, and as many of them stated, they spoke their mind, and they truly did, and they talked about the schools and, you know, going forward. And as Commissioner Harper stated, we got schools. Our new director of schools he walked into a growth that, you know, that's come. So there's so many concerns that the citizens saying, and whereas we want to bring these jobs, and I think you know, I applaud you for doing what you're doing, and there's so many concerns. So I think if we answer those concerns, it'd be easier. Also, you know, what are we giving away, and how long is that return going to take to get back? You know, we got so many things. We got so many tax incentives going out. So much promises. But how long is this return going to be? Is it going to be my grandchildren when they finally start seeing this return? I mean, I think we've played down our debt, and our debt load is really down. This administration has paid it down. So just a lot of concerns. Yeah. And I think, and I'll give you an opportunity, but let me just finish with this. I think the citizens need to hear that, and I think they need to hear it from us instead of bringing jobs. I mean, you know, what are we doing to unclog the roads for the people to move to their jobs? Because once they go out there, you're talking 2 counties, and then Todd County, which is another state. It's a lot of interlocal agreements that we're probably going to have to.
Well, the Todd County situation is simply they are the provider to sell wholesale water. They cannot distribute water to the consumer. So they have a capacity that they need to sell. And so they've already got a contract to provide, I forget how many gallons per day to the city of Springfield and Robertson County. There is a utility district out in the Adams area that is in the process of, from my understanding, I'm not at the table, restructuring. It's going to become a true utility district is the goal. They are going to have a tap provided on this new 24-inch water line, which will allow them to start purchasing water from the Todd County water plant in the future. And they would be interested in doing that if we were to bring this project in. So that's kind of how that would evolve. You know, Tommy, our history shows, if you look at our statistics, and commissioners, not just Tommy, we as a community, on average, are growing 5,000 people in population annually. What this component would do would bring quality jobs for 8,000 people at a quality probably that exceeds anything we have today. So there's your driver of your economy.
No, I'm for it. I understand that. But I think what the citizens are asking is, you're bringing these jobs, but we still got the same problem when you bring the jobs: clogged roads, congestion. So how do we answer? And I know our state delegation tried to answer that with the increase of gas, with the gas tax, but still we still have the same problem. So I think as we go forward, you know, with the Rossview exit, I think we need to ask the state to help us there, because now you're talking some traffic going down that road, and you know, man, there's a big boom. So I'm hearing you, but I just want you to hear what the residents are saying. They're conveying a message of all we're doing is building more congestion on already congested roads. So we got to have an answer for them.
And here, I mean, some of the infrastructure I told you, the gas, water, and the sewer, that's all going to be there. They're going to make their money back in selling the water and the sewer services and that kind of stuff. So that'll be liquid. I told you that TDOT has looked how they would serve that. That would be a special. TDOT has certain funds set aside for economic development use. So this $20 to $30 million road improvement would come out of those funds and come to this community instead of going somewhere else. So that would be the vehicle. If we got the plan, if we got a project to do it, then it would bring that their projected $20 to $30 million cost into this community for that major Highway 237 improvement, okay? And then that's a 5-mile section of that road, and then they would add a new road going into the south of it, which would not put it on any of the local roads out there other than that 237 highway. So that would come, no cost to this community. In this scenario, for this type of project, the majority of the land value would be paid for through the state incentive dollars, not by this community. What we as a community historically have done is given a payment in lieu of tax agreement to new industries that are coming in. That typical pilot agreement is about a 20-year deal. The first 3 years on equipment is tax exempt. The first 3 years on the property and buildings are tax exempt, and then it starts coming in and paying 50%, 60%, 70%, and it X up. So I don't have the exact numbers on this 1.6 billion, but roughly in that 20-year period after the tax abatement, there would be some $20+ million worth of taxes paid on the cost basis of that investment, okay? I don't know what the assessment will come out as and all of that, but if you look at the cost numbers. So if we don't do that, we won't get any of that $20+ million worth of taxes. So there's where your revenue stream comes in, and yes, it doesn't start kicking in until that 4th year of operation.
Thank you, Mike.
You're quite welcome.
Just keep on thinking about infrastructure. And
I am.
I'm thinking infrastructure.
This is the quickest way we can, and I know a lot of things are happening positively in roads right now, but this is the quickest way for us to get road improvements. Look at Highway 79 between Exit 4 and the Industrial Park now. That 4-lane road improvement, $16 million is being done because we recruited Hankook. Look at what they did at Exit 8 in Rossview. That was a $12.8 million road improvement that we've had on the pipe dreams for 20+ years, and it's done.
Thank you.
Economic development is one way to step up infrastructure improvement. Good question.
Commissioner King?
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, you answered most of it about the water a while ago. Todd County's going to furnish. Where does Todd County get their water?
It comes from the Cumberland River, the pumping station right down on Riverside Drive, that brick building. Okay. They bring the water in there, and there's a 30-inch water line, I believe it is, that runs parallel with the R.J. Corman track up into Guthrie, Kentucky.
Okay, I just
That's
wondered,
where it comes from.
I wondered where that,
Yeah.
they're not on the river, so I wondered where.
And actually what that's done, that's brought water to a region that's had problems having water in the past. That was done probably back around 1990. No, it's probably done about 2002, I believe it was, somewhere in that time.
So it goes directly to Kentucky.
It's
We
raw
don't-
river water that goes up
Okay,
there,
river
and
water.
they have a treatment plant, and
Up
they
there.
treat it. Yes.
Thank you.
Good question.
Commissioner Redd?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question. Just want to make sure I clarify something from one of the other commissioners asked you. I wanted to make sure I heard right. One of them asked that when would you foresee that you would need the funding? And you stated, well, first we would make sure that we had a business or a company and it's almost ready to sign the contract, and then we would put them there. I guess my question is, does that mean that we have the ability to hold this land without purchasing it first and then, or
It's all in the negotiation on the options. Right now.
with the
I have-
seller?
Right, yes, the interested sellers. So right now, I have, I'm sorry, I gotta look. 5 of the 6 large parcels. I
Yes.
have signatures on 5 options. That one of them, the largest tract, we don't have completed yet, and we've either got to move over to the east and make up for that acreage somewhere else on another farm, or work out our problem. We are starting out with a 1-year option, 1-year renewable, so it could be 2 years, okay? What we need to do long-term is to negotiate those into a 5-year lease, because I really think it's going to take.
So we're going to lease it first?
No, not lease it, option it.
Option.
Option.
Is there a
The
cost
farmer
there
can-
to us for those options?
Yes, we're paying a fee for the options, but honestly, again, I don't want to go public with the amount. It's very reasonable. That option fee would be a credit against purchase price if we exercise. If
But
we
at some
don't
point, this
exercise.
body would get to vote on that
Well,
option, or
actually,
that
those
we
funds
would
are,
get to know at
those
some
funds are coming out of this $400,000, 200 from the IDB Clarksville and 200 from the Economic Development in Robertson County. That's all budgeted in those numbers. So for the immediate ability to market this, we will not, at this time, I don't foresee us asking for any funding. The only time we would come to you, one, is if we wanted to rezone it to have the proper zoning in place on this property. And then number 2, when we have a user that is ready to make an announcement, and maybe it would be on the night of the announcement, whatever, we as a body would maybe have to put and approve some type of investment, some type of interlocal agreement between us and Robertson County, which we will educate you on as we develop something like that. It's not done right now. There's talks about it, how we would do it. But we're headed in a direction to put something together that makes a lot of sense. So, and again, let me reiterate, we do not have an active project that we're doing this for. We're doing this for the future to get ready to try to attract when the next automotive manufacturer decides they need a new manufacturing place, that we can play ball with them.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
You're quite welcome.
Next, we have Mr. Norm Curian, the Executive Director of TRC.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners, for giving me this time this evening. Got a little slideshow to show you.